Well, happy Sunday. This is PFG Live. Welcome aboard, everybody. We have a good crowd already forming on this sunny day in southern New Hampshire. I know it's not sunny everywhere, but it's sunny here. Let's see who's here. CJ Stevens checked in with 39 degrees and lots of sunshine in East Tennessee. Art That Makes Art, Wes, is 39 degrees and kind of gloomy in south central Idaho, but you're with us, which makes it possibly more gloomy. Taunus is here. Welcome aboard, sir. Carl is checking in from the People's Republic of Rhode Island with 34 degrees, sunny, and blowing like stink. Jeff Loffert says mostly cloudy, 28 degrees in Wasilla, Alaska. Robert Simpson's checking in with 25 degrees, overcast, north of Detroit on Discord in case of audio problems. You could be everywhere, sir. That would be just fine. Joel L. is checking in at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 34% relative humidity, and sunny. And Joel is in, I can't remember where you are, Joel. You can't do this to me. New York Machinist, who is obviously in New York, says 25 degrees Fahrenheit and windy in Corning, New York, where the mirrors are almost flat. AB Shop is 12 degrees science in Vicenza, Italy. Welcome aboard. Big Chow. Almost Machining, 66 degrees Fahrenheit, sunny in Surprise, Arizona. Surprise, it's not that warm. Joshua is checking in, 10 degrees science in Haverhill, Suffolk, England, UK, Europe, Earth. You know, we have a Haverhill here, just across the river. Dark and dingy, but the workshop is bright and warm. Oscar's with us at minus 10°C in Ligendal? Yeah, you're doing it to me again. Usama, Finland. Welcome, sir. Chandler. Joel's in Chandler. Of course you are. The melter of PLA. Joshua is with us. Manufacturing Vice Jaws this evening. Welcome. Flat Lapper, who laps flat, says, hey all, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, sunny, 10 miles an hour in North Illinois. Almost Machining says Joel L. is just down the road. We use different things, I guess. Let's see. Who else is here? On the Discord side, we have Tucker is saying 27 degrees and snowing with 6 inches of accumulation, blowing winds, and lots of snow drifts in Buffalo, New York. Welcome. Evils is with us with a fake METAR report. Nothing but remarks. I appreciate the fact that you made it nothing but remarks, and there is a more appropriate format. But if we could dig out, it says that it's comfortable in your house. Robin says it's beautiful. Welcome, Robin. Josh says minus 4.1 science, humidity 54%, clear and sunny skies in southern Manitoba. Welcome, sir. And live from Brooklyn, New York, it's Unix Carbide, 38 Fahrenheit, but really 30 Fahrenheit, he says. What does that even mean? Warren Jones says, no current report in Sutton, New Hampshire, but it's nice and sunny with a crisp chill. Not much wind. Warren, if I threw a baseball that way, Warren could drive and pick it up. That's how close he is. So who did I miss? I think I got everybody. Welcome aboard. On the Discord server, we have Unix Carbide, Carl Tauber, Robin, Josh, Almost Machining, Robert Simpson, Bill Olney, Evils, Warren Jones, and Tucker. So welcome aboard, everybody. What a wonderful Sunday. I'd hate to miss one. And this has been a busy week. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of fun. I would like to open up. Let me get this slide up. I would want to say congratulations to Evils, a firm supporter of the channel, who won the number 130 McMaster car catalog that we gave away. Was it as soon as last week? It seems like it was forever ago. But you may recall that Evils is in the EU. And getting this to him in Belgium was not trivial. We did all the right things because I ship all over the world, so it was like, hey, we got this. And of course, on his end, they gave him all sorts of grief. And they thought it was a commercial shipment, and it was coming from a company, and therefore he had to pay all this stuff, and I wrote a statement and I sent it to him and I said, show this to the guys. And around and around it went, and Evils managed to make it all happen. And they finally said, yeah, no charge. Here you go. It was all set. So they're pictured on your screen as the goodies that Evils won in our drawing. And we hope you enjoy it. Also, Evils, let's see if I can show your handiwork here in the chat. There it is. Evils is designing a appropriate place to store the McMaster car catalog behind plexiglass and guarded by armed guards. So that will be fantastic. Congratulations. What else is going on? We did our show or our segment on clutter credits, and we talked about how if you start assigning clutter credits to things that are sitting around in your shop, you start to realize how much you're paying. And our standard right now with the current exchange rate, can we check the current exchange rate, please? With the current exchange rate, I believe it is $2 per square foot. You're going to have to figure that out in a metric. $2 per square foot per month is one clutter credit. So I had a lot of books, and I started donating books. And if you have not done this, you need to do this. We have a place near us called Used Book Superstore, and they're online. It's usedbooksuperstore.com. This is, of course, for our U.S. listeners. I'm sure elsewhere there's similar places. But these guys are awesome. You can go in and sell them books or donate books, and they will, use it for a good cause. They will take books in and resell them. They have this particular place, which is down in Burlington, Massachusetts, has 100,000 books on the shelves for sale that you can go in and browse. And people, bring in books and they get categorized. And anyway, great place. Check out your local place. And I'm filling my next box for donations. On that topic, good friend for many, many years, my friend Mike Murphy was over here. I was helping him out. He was building a heat sink. He needed some copper. So I said, come on over. I have a piece of copper. We sliced a piece of copper, but then we started talking about other stuff. I gave him a couple of great books that he's interested in and some other stuff, right? So he was all excited and happy, and I earned clutter credits, and I was very happy about it. So the clutter credits have been very successful. And I want to hear your stories about earning your clutter credits. And it's a good feeling to know that the stuff is out and it's doing somebody else some good, and we get to fill the remaining space with tools, of course. Let's see. I had put out a question on Instagram. I posted a picture of a not insignificant chunk of steel. And I challenged everybody to guess the alloy, right? And we got many guesses, and it was pretty funny what some of the responses we got. But it was correctly guessed, and frankly, I'm having trouble remembering who the winner was. Novice Artisan, welcome aboard. Novice Artisan says unobtainium. Well, incorrect. It's not unobtainium because you can get it through the McMaster car catalog. Therefore, it is obtainium. So I got my my catalog out. I ordered my steel. It came in, and it was correctly guessed by one person who I congratulated on Instagram. And forgive me if somebody can go to the Instagram post on your phone and tell me who was it that got it. The correct answer was, well, let me show it to you. You guys listening on the audio podcast, you don't know what you're missing. Well, you probably do know what you're missing. But here it is. 52-100 was the correct answer. And this is a 3-inch diameter, 12-inch long chunk of 52100, which, not everybody can get their hands on this unless, of course, you place a McMaster car catalog order and you pay $294. But then there it is. So the question is, what are we doing with this? I don't know. This has to be 40 pounds of 52100. It's got a lot of gravity. So my goal, Ethan said, oh yeah, Ethan, that's right. Ethan Perrin 97 was the correct guesser. Exactly. What the heck is 52100? Aren't you glad you asked? CJ Stevens says, for the podcast people, it is glowing and I can see his bones through the light. That is correct. So 52100 is best known as the metal that Robin's on it. I'm busy making jokes and Robin is getting the facts out. Robin says ball bearings and gauge blocks. Exactly right. So for me, it's the gauge blocks part that was interesting. And it's a very old steel. And one of the reasons it's used for gauge blocks is its excellent characteristics as far as wear and hardenability and stability. And also, that's what makes it great for bearings. And I'm sure Robin can tell us more about it. But because it's an old steel, they keep the recipe the same. Wes says you need to turn a giant ball. No, I don't. The funny thing was, when I went to the McMaster car catalog and I looked up 5200, of course, one of the 52100, one of the things that came up was balls. And on the same page, because I put in a diameter of 3 inches, there I could buy a 3-inch ball of 5200, a bearing ball from McMaster car, and it wasn't terribly priced. So if you feel a need to have a widget, a fidget toy on your desk, which is a 3-inch or even a 4-inch, I think they had a 4-inch bearing ball of 52100, just open up your McMaster car catalog, and there it is. So that's what. So you might wonder why. So I was approached. Am I making a cannon, or are those cannon balls? You could use them. We don't judge. You could use the balls however you see fit. Flatlapper says, we're going to be talking, sir. Correct lapping segments for speed fam machines is 52100 Type 2 Peterson grade. Well, now we're going deep. So I don't even know what Peterson grade is, but now you've given me homework. And Evils correctly points out it's also a popular, easy wear resistant knife steel. So in Laren Thomas's book, that's The Knife Steel Nerd, hashtag not sponsored, but awesome website, awesome dude. I actually pulled up information on 52100 because I need to know how to heat treat it. Knife makers have discovered 52100 and it has characteristics. Believe me, the knife guys are into dozens of different kinds of steels. Flatlapper says 58 to 60 Rockwell hardness. I guess that's Peterson grade. So what I'm aiming to do is basically achieve gauge blockedness. I want to finish a hockey puck to gauge block quality, and I welcome any help in doing that. Somebody pinged me that said, hey, can you do that? And I'm like, I think I could do that. We've gotten very, very close to that. New York Machinists said, I've made a lot of 52100 and 80 CRV2 Damascus steel. Excellent. Well, I want to hear more about getting gauge block surface quality on a 52100. So that's my goal. In order to to play around with that, I'm going to cut a couple of salami slices from that rod, and I'm going to heat treat them. And that heat treating is actually going to be kind of fun. I have the recipe. It's not crazy difficult. And we'll heat treat them, we'll grind them, and then we're going to lap them and see where we go. The thing that I'm ignorant about right now is the final lapping to get to that, ridiculous finish. If I only knew a flat lapper who can help me out. Oh, wait. Flat lapper says composite copper lapping plates and diamond. Excellent. Like I said, we're going to talk. I have cast iron lapping plates and diamond. Is that okay? Can I do that? Because with 8 micron diamond, I was getting extraordinarily good results and actually achieved ringing. But I don't consider what I did gauge block quality. So I'm figuring I could set up my next set of laps using one of the finer diamond slurries, which I have. I think I have 8. Let's see if I remember. 8.3, 8.31 and a quarter and 0.25. Not exactly sure. This is going to have a ring surface with a relieved center, ? Nope, it is not. Carl Tauber asks, what is composite copper? That's a really good question. So Flat Lapper did say composite copper lapping plates. So what does that mean? Inquiring minds want to know. But this is one of the... So because I've gotten very close to where I want to land, getting that last mile is going to be very interesting. High Pres lapping plates. Engis Corporation. Yeah, High Pres is the manufacturer of the diamond slurry that I bought. And Robin admonished me that the liquid that's part of the diamond slurry is very well engineered. So we shouldn't take it for granted that they've done a lot of homework to get all that stuff right. Novice Artisan says use 5 micron or below diamond pastes on a zinc lap ? 1 plate per compound ? My understanding is that once you have a lapping plate and you're using it with a diamond compound, that you are stuck at that size diamond because it is going to embed, which is what you want. But on the other hand, you can't go to a finer diamond. So you're either going to surface grind that plate to get everything off and then start over, or you just set up another set of plates, which is what I'm doing. Yes, the carrier is liquid. Yep, we're on the same page. Music. There's a lot of history with Johansson making the first gauge blocks and using a sewing machine. So one of the things I want to do is go back and read about that history. But of course, I have a sewing machine. If I have to use a sewing machine, I will. I'm sure it was because it was a very smooth motor, had a reciprocating action that was useful, etc., etc. But I'm going to read up on that history, and then I'm going to look for some help on getting that to work. And this was all triggered by somebody who made a request for a thing, and more on that if it becomes successful, I will report. Let's see. So that's interesting. If you are an expert in making gauge blocks, please join us in the Discord server. Oh, so last week, not only did I have a wonderful house guest here in the form of one Unix Carbide, but we got a ton done in grinding in his cast straight edge and cast angle, and that was the topic that we talked about last week. I want to show you a picture here. Let's see. When we switched the grinder over, I just took this picture like literally 15 minutes ago. When we switched the grinder over to do the cast iron, It was it was pretty evident as the filter paper came out of the filter band this morning where we stopped making stones and where we started grinding cast iron. So if you're on the audio podcast, just imagine a band of filter paper going from this kind of orangey browny color to this black dark gray grunge color. That was when we went to the cast iron. So Almost Machining says, come up with an automatic method. You're talking faster than I could think in my flu state. Listen, dude, we don't have to solve this now. I just want to install the subprogram in all your processors. That's all. Yeah, almost says sheeted thermite. I don't think that's actually sheeted thermite, but if it is, I'm going to run downstairs real quick with a fire extinguisher. So in the discussion last week about Unix Carbide's cast goodies that we showed, we talked a little bit about the company that made the castings. The castings, as we learned from grinding them, were really quite nice, and they were marked Lamb and Sons. I'm looking for the picture. From the UK, from England. And let's see, going back in history here on the slides. Isn't this, there we go, here's a picture. And one of the things I mentioned was that, first of all, I want to say that there were two items, a straight edge and this really nice angle. And the straight edge was not made by Lamb. It was made by another company. Well, Clive, the proprietor, connected with me. Oh, thank you very much, Robin. Clive connected with me, and he said that straight edge wasn't mine. I'm like, okay, we figured that out on the podcast. But I also told him how lovely I thought this came out, and then he essentially looked at the grinding we did and started laughing. He said, that angle on the back is a handle. He says that's not supposed to be a precision surface. I'm like, well, it's precision now, and it looks really good. So all those surfaces did get ground, and the angle was a random angle, but it came out really nice. So beautiful job, and you could follow him on the Instagram. I'm going to ask maybe somebody can well, let's see. I've been following him, and he's been posting prodigiously, but he is on Instagram posting pictures of his castings getting post-processed, and they're absolutely beautiful. So that's a little plug for him. I'll get you that information a little later. I wasn't prepared with it to follow him on Instagram. But the company is Lamb and Son, England. So that came out really good. And Unix Carbide will no doubt regale us with some updates on what he does with those instruments. Let's see. How did you send them, Robin? Did you send them on what channel? We have so many channels. Thank you for sending those, but I knew you'd have some resources. So we'll have some fun with the 52100. We'll do some heat treating. We'll do some lapping and see how far we can go, because we should never leave good enough alone. What else is cooking? Oh, here we go. So Black Sheep Cross Member. That is the name of the Instagram account for Clive. Black Sheep Cross Member, all one word, on Instagram. Thank you for linking that. And Tuck also linked it at the same time. Awesome. You guys are terrific. So when when Unix Carbide was here and we ground his tools, we switched over to the 5SG wheel on the grinder for all that work. And I'll tell you what, that wheel can do anything. So I started working on everything. That's where all these other tool restorations suddenly came from. And I discovered that my large 5SG wheel, basically my brand new one, which I prepped for grinding because I literally used one up, might have been a little loose on its hub, because as I removed it, thankfully, it was when I removed it, I felt it maybe move. So I wanted to share with you a little change in my procedure on the grinder that I think I'm going to be doing every time now. So that is, when I go to change wheels and I pull a previously mounted wheel out of the drawer, I'm going to tighten the hub before I do anything else. So if the hub was already tight, then nothing's going to change. But if the hub was loose, then I'm going to feel it. I'm going to tighten it up, and then I'm going to be truing, balancing and truing anyway. But I felt that was a part of the process that needed a little attention, because as soon as that hub gets loose so that wheel can move with respect to the hub, you've lost balance and you've lost true. So that was a little bothersome. It did not hurt anything, because it was in the taking the wheel off direction that I noticed it. So once again, my standard procedure for changing wheels is going to be, take wheel off, grab the new wheel from the drawer, and check tightness first, and then go to mount it up. Now, the other thing I wanted to, that's very closely related to it, is what process you go through when you take a brand new wheel out of the wrapper. In my case, it's from Norton, these 5SG wheels, and you pick up a hub and you go to mount it up. What I do is, well, of course, first thing you do is you tighten it. You put it on the hub. You make sure the blotter papers are there. The blotter papers are not optional. They have to be there. And they protect the hub's hardened steel from the stone, being pushed into it. It's basically two immovable objects. So the blotter paper provides a little cushion for that to happen a little more gracefully. And then I tighten it up. Well, I think I got this from Robin, but you have to tighten that hub way tighter than you think. And so I take one of my tools, goes into the bench vise with the two, it's a spanner tool with the points of the spanner pointing up, and then the wheel goes on that, and then the other one, which I use the points of the spanner at 90 degrees, I put on there and I wonk on it until I think it's way too much. Then it's just about right. One of these days I'll come up with a torque wrench and a torque spec. Oh yes, of course, Greenwood, I ring test. You're absolutely right. Before we do anything with the wheel, we do a ring test, which means we could hang it on a screwdriver, take the back of another screwdriver and ding it, okay? And then if we do that correctly, we should hear it ring like a bell. If you will recall from a previous discussion on this very podcast, we talked about resonance. The wheel should resonate. It should ring like a bell. If it goes ka-thump and it does not ring, it might be cracked, and you should use extreme caution and maybe just toss it. Of course, at the price of some of these wheels, especially the 5SG wheels, throwing it out is kind of like a little hard to deal with. But you ring the wheel. I've never had one not ring, but it's a safety step. You ring the wheel. You put it on the hub. You tighten the nut to where you think it's way too tight, and that's perfect. And now you're going to mount it on the machine. No, you're not. You're going to balance it. So You grab your B200 balancing ring. What's a B200 balancing ring? Go to bal.gg and learn about the B200 balancing ring. You put your B200 balancing ring on there. Yes, Robin, I hear you on the subliminal channel. I hear you. And you go over to your balancing stand and you balance it up. Now, this is a raw wheel right out of the manufacturer's packaging. You will be balancing it again. You're not done. Then it goes over to the machine and you true it up. You true the major surface and you true the sides. I'm not going into detail today. I'm just going through the steps. Now it comes back off the machine, goes back to the balancing stand, and now you balance it. Because what happens is, if you think this through, if you have an off-center wheel and you balance it, okay, now it runs on the machine pretty true. You true it, it's now going to be unbalanced again. One could make the argument that you didn't need the first balancing, but it doesn't take very long, and it reduces some dynamic input into the system. So when it goes back, you rebalance it, goes back on the machine. You now do one more true, usually just the bottom, and now you're ready to work. You're good to go. So that process, it takes a little while for a brand new wheel, and you don't want to have to do that all over again if you don't have to. So if you leave it on the hub, you do not have to change it again. But if you didn't tighten the hub enough, and then the next time you go to mount the wheel, it moves, you basically treat it as if you just mounted the wheel. That's the message. And shame on me for not having tightened the hub previously enough. So then I thought about it and I said, gee, I wonder if something is relaxing which caused it to not be tight anymore. So then that's how I came up with the added step to the process of, well, every time you take it out of the drawer, just tighten it. If it was tight, it's not going to move. If it needed a little tightening, it's probably not going to shift, but it will tighten up. And I said probably, but it's probably good enough. And when you put it back on the machine and true it, you'll be good to go. And if you balance it before you true it, you'll be even better. So this is not, I'm not giving you a precise process description, except to say checking for tightness after it's mounted and after you've used it and when you're going to put it back on the machine is very important. Please, people, tighten your hub. There's your message. So I mentioned my buddy Mike, who came over, and I wanted to, he messages me. We're on a text message, and he says, hey, I need a piece of copper for a heatsink for this radio that I'm designing. I'm like, cool. What do you need? And we go back and forth, and my inclination is to say, well, do you have a sketch? Can you sketch it for me? Can you give me basically we're saying, give me a drawing. And it is the job of a machinist to take a drawing and make a part to meet the requirements of that drawing. But it's the job of the engineer to make the drawing for the machinist. But what happens if you have somebody who doesn't know how to make a drawing? And that's basically everybody. And this happens a lot. Somebody will say, hey, I need a widget. And of course, we want to help people, especially if they're friends and family. Hey, I need a bracket. How many times have you heard that? I need a little bracket. So we have to do things that allow us to help the people that don't know how to make a sketch, which is almost everybody does not know how to make a sketch. One of the ways we can do that, the easiest way to do that, is to say, hey, bring it over, whatever the thing is. Now, sometimes you can't bring it over. If you're somebody like Warren Jones, yes, I'm picking on you, Warren. If you're somebody like Warren Jones who works on these huge machines, right? Yes, I'm looking at you. They're not going to bring over the huge machine to point at something, say, make one of these. frequently you have to go there, or they have to, you need to go find out what they need by putting eyeballs on the thing, because most people have no concept of how to make a sketch, let alone a full-blown dimension drawing. So getting the thing in front of you so that you can figure out what they need is number one. Number two is teach them about cardboard aided design. Some applications you can tell them, hey, do you have a piece of cardboard? Yeah. Can you cut and fold and tape the cardboard to make the thing you want to make? And some people go, oh yeah, I could do that. And now they will execute cardboard aided design, maybe not to 3 decimal places, but enough that they say, this is what I want. And now you've had a 3-dimensional transfer of knowledge, which is the hardest thing. And you can start there. So cardboard aided design, very powerful, and you can teach somebody how to do that. We've done this. My kiddo Sam needed a laptop and tablet rack. So we now, Sam's an artist, so it's not too hard for Sam to make a sketch, which is what happened. And then they gave me a sketch, and I 3D modeled it in Fusion and showed it to them, and Sam says, yeah, that's what I want. It's like, okay, great. We made the connection. But then it is really absolutely true that there are people that don't think in 3D. They can't do it. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to transfer that knowledge. So if you can put yourself in front of the thing and maybe do reverse cardboard aided design, where you look at the thing and then you make it out of cardboard and you say, is this what you want? And they go, yeah. You say, okay. And now you can go away and make it. Because we all want to help people, but I'll tell you what, you don't want to spend an hour and a half making a thing in the shop and then you deliver it and they go, no, that's not what I meant. Does that ever happen? That happens. So anyway, we took care of Mike. It ended up that he just needed a piece of copper. So he came over. I gave him a piece of copper and a bunch of other stuff, and I sent him home, and it was all fine. But I recommend teaching cardboard aided design. And with everybody getting their stuff from Amazon, I think everybody has enough cardboard as long as they use it properly. Let's see. So that's the story about helping non-machinists. It's really hard to ask for a sketch. Oh, hey, thank you for a link. Robin just posted a link in the chat about first attempt at mirror finish while I was working on these gauges. Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk, buddy, and I'll tell you more of the story once we're on the back channel. But that's looking great. So Robin just posted a link to his Instagram post. What was the approximate date of that post, so that people can go look for it that aren't on here? And Evils has taken to become our archivist of all good things. So I'm sure Evils will have that thing cataloged in no time. AB Shop says 3D is only the area times the length. It's square meters times meters equals cubic meters equal volume. If people understand this, 3D would be very easy to understand and use it. Yeah, very easy for us, but sometimes it's not so easy for other people. So here's an example. I had a really wonderful person come and help us in our garden. And they did this magnificent technique of, oh, there it is. So the Robin's post was on March 29th of 2021. If you want to look up the post on Robin's recipe for gauge blockosity, which I will be quizzing you on incessantly, Robin. So this very nice person comes over, does some work in our garden, and had this really super cool technique, which I don't know enough to teach, but I could describe it, of digging down in the garden and laying cardboard down and then covering it back up with the topsoil to there's a certain, schedule and thickness and whatever. And it prevents weed growth, but allows you to plant your plants. It was really cool. And it was a great a great recycling of Amazon boxes. And it worked out fantastically well. Robin just posted another copy of the post showing his interference lines on his stuff, and of course they look like they were ruled by a machine. That's gorgeous. But I digress. You see what you're missing if you're only on audio? Anyway, I said to this very nice person who was laying the cardboard in subsurface in our garden, she said, I need some more cardboard to finish up this section. I said, how much do you need? Simple question, right? Could not come up with a way to transmit to me how much more cardboard she needed. This was not a failing. This was not somebody who is not smart. This is a brain working completely differently. And it was probably the most stark example of that I've ever seen. What I was expecting was, it's about 9 feet by 12 feet worth of cardboard. Or maybe more advanced was, I need 90 square feet or something. But absolutely unable to attach a number to this concept of what they were trying to transmit to me. So I said, hey, let's go out to the garden, show me what you need. And they pointed, it's got to cover this to this. So I said, about, 9 by 12. And okay, yeah, great. And I was able to go wrestle up the cardboard and deliver it. But there are people out there that do not have what you have in your brain with respect to 3D modeling and numbers and measurements and precision, let alone metric versus, freedom units. Just know that you can help some people a lot just by not demanding that of them and just going and putting eyeballs on the process. Strip mulching. There you go. And Robert Simpson says it's called strip mulching, and it's also great done with newspaper. Excellent. I can confirm that cardboard works well, and it worked great. The little garden that this was done to came out fantastic. But square feet, how much, quantification wasn't happening. It was a good lesson for me. Okay, so if you've been following me on Instagram, you will know that I've been working on some old tools, and I kind of like doing this. I've done this a lot. Restoring some old tools, grinding in some old tools, such that I was able to continue using them. In fact, if you have bought PFG Stones ever, your PFG Stones were in part done with one of the tools I use is an old Machinist's vise, which I completely rebuilt and modified. I've talked about this particular tool before because it also needed heat treating help. It had evidence that it was heat treated but not tempered. So it was tempered, it was cryoed, it was reground. And it was a lot of fun, and I ended up with a fantastic tool that I keep using. So I'm sort of hooked on taking a tool that's kind of not in great shape and making it better, and then using the hell out of it. One of the examples is I bought a Suburban Tool 6-inch squaring vise, magnetic squaring vise on, I think I bought it on eBay. I can't quite remember. And it was, it was a little chewy. And it needed to be made better, and I was able to restore it. Now, recently, if you don't follow Clow42, he's a good guy, James Clow, and he also just recently started, grinding, and he also got a 6-inch Suburban tool squaring block, and he also had to regrind it. But the interesting thing is, and this is a bit of a sidetrack, the interesting thing is he found the exact problem I found on the one I bought, which is the bottom was bowing. It was bowing out. And if you put it, for example, on a surface plate, it would spin like a top. Well, the one he got also spun like a top. And when you look at the design, it was like, okay, they completely supported the bottom of the squaring plate. I forget what it is. It's a 3/8 inch steel plate on the bottom, and it's just not enough. It's just not stiff enough. So it was interesting that we both had the exact same experience. That was another example. I don't know if I'd say finished, but I just worked on a set of 3 Shars, the little grinding vices. I guess they're called 2-inch vices because of the width. They're like 2 inches wide. And I just ground them in so that all the beds are coplanar. So I ground the bottom, I ground the beds, I ground the surface of the jaw that slides on the bed. And they're all gorgeous now, and they're all matched, and I don't have to think about whether, I'm putting it on vice number 1, vice number 2, or vice number 3. They're all matched. So, but along comes Hermit Shed, one of our group, and he put up on the Discord server. We have a for sale forum that everybody could use, and he put up a couple of tools. One of which was a flat sign plate, and I said, I'm interested in that. Oh, I have it right here. Hang on. So if you've seen pictures of this thing incessantly on Instagram, this is the animal. It is a sign plate, but it's a kind of wide flat sign plate. It's about 4 inches wide and about 6 inches long. And it has a pair of rolls 5 inches apart, the standard 5 inches apart. And I've been working on restoring this guy. And if you've been following on Instagram and on YouTube, so I've been making these little videos called Quick Chips, 2 to 5 minutes long max, of as I'm doing little chunks of project. So on this project, I decided the very first thing, besides inspection, which I've done here, I would work on the rolls. So let me just take these out of order. The inspection of this guy was very interesting because, let's see if I can get it to reflect here for the video. Come on, you can do it. There it is. There's a name engraved here, and I think it says Charles. Let's see. I think it's Charles Williams or something like that. I will enhance it, but that was the signature of the maker. Other things I discovered, of course, were the grinding marks on the bottom that were pretty evident once it was stoned with PFG stones. The top was not bad, but it was corroded. So this is all going to get ground. And then I found one other very interesting thing. Let's see if I can show you this. I'm going to put my finger on the defect. Where is it? There it is. Okay. I found out that one of these holes, which is really just a lightning hole, was sleeved because it broke through. Oh, you can see it. There it is. It broke through to the adjacent hole. Okay. And in breaking through the adjacent hole, it got ugly. So he sleeved it. So this isn't exactly the Mona Lisa, okay, but it'll restore and become quite useful. So that's the main base. But the thing that I was showing most recently on YouTube here are the rolls. So the rolls are hardened steel, and they're actually hardened steel tubes. And they have 2 threaded holes. It turns out to be 1024. And I turned up a couple of these plugs so I could plug the holes on the end so I can make myself center holes. So that's what I did here. There's a good shot for you video guys. We take the plugs, we put it in the end of the hardened steel tube with a drop of CA glue, and then we put it back in the lathe and we pop in a center hole. And we did that on both sides. However, I realized, oh, genius. Now there's no way to drive this thing on the Harrig electric centers. So I added a piece of brass shim stock as a drive lever, and I used CA glue and a clearance hole to do that. And then, of course, I went in with the center drill and just cleaned it up. So these guys are ready to go on the grinder with the Harrig electric centers to get rotary ground and restored into their glory. So these will be the first parts that hit the grinder, and then they will be set aside, and I will work on the base of that thing. But I really enjoy doing this, and it takes, somebody's, it might have been apprentice work, it might have been student work, it might have been just a shop-made tool, but I like restoring it, and I like putting it back to work and knowing that it's like solid. Another one that I did, and I showed this in the thumbnail for this very video. Let's see if I could bring up the full-sized picture. Yeah, here it is. Robin had talked about this V-block, this magnetic V-block that he's been using, and he did some modifications to it. So I found one that was not hardened. Robin's was using a hardened one, but the price was right, and it was, quote, new, close quote. And I've shown this on both YouTube and Instagram. This is finished. This came out quite nicely, and I'm very happy with it. And this is another example of a tool that we'll be using a lot. And now I can trust it because I was the last one to put the surfaces on it. This has been rather satisfying. I've got another couple of tools. I got another sine bar. It's not a plate. It's a sine bar that's awaiting the same treatment. But that'll come later. But I'll keep making these little short videos as I work. Apparently, people like them. I'm getting a lot of very positive feedback on these, 5-minute videos from the shop as I make progress. So if you like that sort of thing, let me know. We'll continue doing that. Let's see. Do you have tools that you guys have restored and are using, and you have a story about? I am not nostalgic. I'm not interested in. I say I'm not nostalgic, but I just showed you the maker's signature on this tool. That's kind of nostalgia, but I like putting them back to use, and I think that the original makers would appreciate the fact that they're put to use and they're actually doing good work. Some of them may be passed away. Some of them may be, they were students and they moved on to things that aren't machining, and they would think it's pretty cool that their tool is getting used. You guys are having an excellent conversation in the chat, and I like that. So that's the story. This week in the shop has been kind of very therapeutic for me. Helping out Unix was great, and now I have to get Stones out. So this is kind of what happens. You get these spikes of interest in weird sized stones. For example, the 8-inch stones, which don't move very fast at all. And this week I got 2 orders at the same time for 8-inch stones, and guess what I was out of? 8-inch stones. So I have 8-inch stones running today, and I will be finishing them. They should ship Monday. Unix Carbide says, I'm not one to plug for big precision, but PFG Stones have enabled me to make some great used precision tools sing again. Well, thank you, Unix Carbide. I am glad that you like my stones. Pregnant pause. I appreciate that. I will point out that the Stones definitely give us information that we could not get any other way. I mean, I'm fascinated by the pattern on the bottom of this sign plate, which to me does not come across as wheel imbalance because all the lines across the whole thing are in line. It comes across as rack and pinion noise in the grinder. Tell me if you agree. Almost Machining says, did that come off my grinder? I don't think so. But if you've seen these marks, this is like a wanted poster. If you've seen these marks, contact the authorities. I believe that's a rack and pinion. So what that means is that the table on the grinder has a rack and is driven by a gear, which is attached to the hand wheel. And when a gear turns, there is a force vector that pushes up a little bit on the table. And if all of them line up across the whole work, it's probably that. There's still some mysteries in these markings, but that one I think we understand. Okay, so AB Shop has a good question. Oh yeah, CJ Stevens says, hit that like and subscribe before you leave. Yes, thank you, CJ Stevens. My best public relations coordinator is CJ Stevens. AB Shop says, when can you say I removed 0.01 millimeters when I no longer see sparks? ? I don't have a surface grinder for the moment. This always inspires me because I think it's not like a lathe or a milling machine. Well, when you grind a surface and you've taken off some amount, and then you come back across the surface and you're still making sparks, you could be talking about millionths of an inch. So reading the sparks is actually very useful in telling you what's going on, because if you think about the grits in the wheel as they come around to hit the work, it's only probability that says all of the grits are going to hit all of the parts of the work. So there's always going to be one little grit on the wheel that's a little higher than the last little grit that hit that spot, and it's going to make a spark. So there's a term in grinding called sparking out, which is where you continue to grind across the surface without moving your wheel down, and you observe that the sparks reduce or stop. Now I'll tell you a dirty little secret. Jeff Lawford says, the Lovejoy coupler between the motor and the spindle of my Harrig was bad, and the grind looked just like that pattern. Replaced it, and it went away. Very interesting. So it could be the Lovejoy coupler. Well, okay, I'll get back to that in a second. Let me finish this thought. And Robin brought this up a couple of weeks ago. I don't even remember what the conversation was, that sparking out is great, but if lack of thermal control can cause issues and make sparking out not terribly useful. But if you go across a surface and you finish your grinding and then you do a spark out pass and you have some sparks, but it's a lot less than before, that's good. And then you do another spark out pass and you have lots less sparks, but they're still there. That's where this gets interesting. If you have like very few sparks, but they come from everywhere on the work, that's good. That means it's as flat, asterisk, it's as flat as you can make it. And it's an indicator. Here's another possibility. You grind a surface and then you come back for the spark out pass, okay? And it grinds on the edges, but not in the middle. You get spark, no spark, spark on your spark out pass. What does that tell you? It tells you that you overheated in the work in the center. The work thermally grew, you ground it off, and then it cooled down and it went down. Now it's a hollow. So the sparks are really useful tools, And just because you have little tiny sparks coming off the work doesn't mean it's wrong and that you have to keep on grinding. It's a super good indicator of what that surface looks like. Yeah, AB Shop. I think we're in agreement. Flatlapper says we, quote, spark out, close quote, in lapping too. No sparks, just let the abrasive break down. Now more fresh supply. So similar in nature. Yes. Excellent. Jeff says the imperfections couldn't be felt or measured with a tenths indicator, but as soon as you stoned it, they stuck out like a sore thumb. Yes. 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 These Jeff is referring to marks like this. If we put a tenths indicator across those marks on this restoration project that we clearly see, it's right in front of our face, we will not measure it. They're teeny. Now, you can make the argument that if you can't measure it, what value does it have? I think we're in violent agreement. Yeah. So, Robin wants to talk. I see. I knew I can get you to, let's see. Okay, we'll put Robin on here. Robin wants to contribute to the, let's see, are you going to use video? I don't think you can use video. Hello, Robin. You're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. No video.
Okay.
Without you.
This is something I'm intimately aware of, because a lot of the spindles that I make, most of the spindle nose diameters, the tolerance is 1 micron on the finished nose that gets ground on its own bearings. And one very useful tool, because you can very easily be thinking that your passes that you're taking are actually doing something, when in fact they're not. So on my Harrig, I can downfeed in like 5 millionth increments, 10 millionth increments, whatever, 15 millionth increments, very consistently.
Yep.
And which you obviously need when you're trying to hit a 1 micron total, span on the size. But you'll find that by taking a purple Sharpie and alcoholing off the part, putting purple Sharpie on the whole thing, come back in again, and you can see whether or not you're actually grinding. And you can even see faint where you're like just removing half the Sharpie. You can see all kinds of things. That's a very powerful tool, is using Sharpie in between. Even if you just use a Sharpie, you come out and go back in, don't downfeed, don't do anything, use the Sharpie. Most of my problems are firing up the grinder. It's only been running for an hour or two. And at those tolerances, it's still growing away from the part. So
yep.
you can take a 20 millionth pass and come back. It doesn't even touch the Sharpie. take another 20 millionth pass, come back, and then you find, okay, so I'm finally touching down. Another phenomenon relative to the part dishing or crowning, like you're talking about, which is very common. Yep. It warms up, it grows because it's it has to grow up because you're heating the upper surface and it's expanding. But that applies to grinding round things also. So if you're grinding a round part and it's tick, tick, tick on one side, if you're really trying to nail things, it takes quite a while. And I'm assuming you're using coolant. It takes quite a while before the shape, the bow induced by that one side grinding and the other not, to come out. So you have to be very careful to, anytime you don't have a full circle grind, you have to be really gentle until everything rounds up and your cuts are of a uniform depth. Otherwise, you can end up with banana-shaped parts, not even realizing it.
And when that happens and you get that tick, 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 you have, I think this is what you're saying. You have asymmetrical grinding, but you also have asymmetrical thermals at that point.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
As the parts you're doing, those rollers for the sign plate, they probably will be pretty close, but they're going to cut somewhere on one side more than the other initially.
Yep.
Even if it's only talking tenths. And
right.
That warmth on that side will do exactly the same thing to that round part as far as its straightness. And if you just keep going, rapidly, in a rush, go through there, you can end up with a part that cools off and is actually bowed from that.
Gotcha. Well, we'll keep an eye on that and try to try to watch for it. Of course, on this particular thing, I don't think a micron's going to. Well, I shouldn't say.
You're going to lap them anyhow, right? When you're done.
Okay, I'm going to lap them. Then I'm going to send them to the NIST for evaluation. We're going to
seriously, that's a perfect lapping candidate there for just a cylindrical external lap. And
the last time you said you're going to lap that, aren't you? I was shamed into like making a lap and lapping it. So I guess it just happened again, didn't it?
Yeah, that's the easiest of all lapping. External cylindrical lapping is the easiest of all. So,
okay, well, good idea, and thank you for the input. I mean, this is a fun project, and it will be a useful tool for sure. Evil says, but he'll have to match the two cylinders to each other. Yeah, we didn't say this would be easy, Evils. Not only are we going to
use lapping.
Say that again.
All the more reason to use lapping.
Yeah,
because controlling, you can amazingly control cylindricity just from the lap torque. You can tell where it's actually fat and light, and you can tell what's going on from that, and you can get extremely, without even measuring, you can get extremely close cylindricity and size just from the drag torque feel on both of them.
So far, we have to feel the torque with our fingies, and we have to have a 19-cent Sharpie, and we're good to a micron. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, literally, purple Sharpie is the Sharpie. I'm not using purple just out. Don't use black. Black seriously does not work as well. Purple Sharpie ink is a different animal than the others. It's almost like liquid Dicam.
Yep.
And I'm not the one who, I think, I'm trying to think of the guy who made us all aware of this. Turn Right Machine.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one who made us aware of purple being the.
Yeah, he calls it Sharpum.
Yeah. So purple, it really is magical. And because you can go over, it will re-wet already dried and go over it without just clumping up and being a mess. So purple's the magic Sharpie for that stuff.
I'm just checking purple futures, purple Sharpie futures on they're spiking. You didn't invest in purple Sharpie options, did you? Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice that I use a lot of black Sharpie, and it's pretty thick. It definitely is a different animal. But that's purple. I'm going out to get purple Sharpie this afternoon. Robin, thanks for checking in. You got anything else?
Nope.
Okay, I'll let you go back to the finger sandwiches. Take care. Okay. That was awesome. Wasn't that awesome? Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Because we are at the top of the hour. Somewhere on the planet, we're on the top of the hour. Do you alternate between the two and average down? I have no idea what we're going to do yet, Evils. There you go. And yes, and just to remind you, it's on our sticker board here. We do this not because it is easy, but because we thought it was easy. And Unix just posted a picture of Purple Rain. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was so I have this fan in the shop to recirculate the air, and I'm always thinking about the thermal thing that we've always talked about. AB Shop says, thanks for the answer. You're welcome. That was like probably more than you asked about. CJ Stevens says he's heading up to raid the kids' craft box. Remember, only Sharpie brand purple is acceptable in the Precision Shop. Robert Simpson says Tom Lipton showed the difference in Sharpie color thicknesses. Yes, I remember that video. We have to go back to it. Yes, Flat Lapper. See if you can join us in the after party. I'll tell you more. Anyway, guys, you're all awesome. Thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun. I'm literally heading back to the shop because I have to finish up 8-inch stones and get them out the door. And I'm looking forward to going out and buying a bunch of purple Sharpies this afternoon. I trust you will also. So from Southern New Hampshire, thanks for being here. We'll look forward to talking to you guys next week. We will be in the after party channel It's called the After Party Roundtable on our Discord server right after we get out of here. If you're not subscribed, and I know half of you are not, I'm looking at you. You know who I'm talking about. Why don't you subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notifications of these videos and the new ones called Quick Chips on the YouTube channel. And, like and subscribe, and, we'll do all those nice things. Get flat, stay flat, and we'll see you guys next week.